Welcome to the Tradies in Business podcast with your hosts Warwick Bidwell and Nicole Cox. Divert your phone and grab a brew as Waz and Nick unpack tips, tales, secrets and stuff-ups from guests both inside and outside your trade, helping educate and inspire you to break the cycle of gut-busting and money stress and create a true trade business.
So, Nick, we have an episode with a difference today.
Mostly because I've forgotten yet again to bring a joke to the table. And I just got a vox from our mate Tom to tell me how good my jokes were, I might add.
How much are you paying him,
Tom.
Coxie? How much are you paying him?
None at all, and I've let him down. I'm sorry, Tom.
Well, we didn't have to pay today's guest. We probably scared him a bit. But we've actually dragged someone into the virtual studio here at Tradies in Business, fresh from the stage. He's actually a little bit famous in his hometown after recently doing something that we talk a lot about here at Tradies in Business and on the podcast. We have our own version of this at Tradies in Business. We're joined by none other than the award-winning Damien Godden from Shift Electrical Services today. Welcome to the show, Damien.
Thanks, Waz and Nick. How you going? Long time listener. It's awesome what you guys do. I listened to you guys from before I started my business, and you guys are a massive inspiration and helped me kind of refine the way I wanted to set out and have our customer service kind of outlay and the kind of attitude and the idea I wanted to bring to Shift Electrical. So yeah, I'm stoked to be on the podcast. It's a cool feeling. I feel like I already kind of know you guys, so it's kind of weird, but yeah, thanks for having me on.
Damien, I'm just going to take that segment that you just said and I'm going to play it to my children every day because they don't listen to what I say, but you're telling me you listen to what we say. And not only do you listen, you actually go and implement what we say. So I'm just going to beat them around the head with your statement now. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Nick, you just need to record it, put it onto iTunes or Spotify and have them find it organically and then they'll pay attention to you.
They're not going to listen.
It's a one episode playlist on repeat in the house. Subliminal.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll play it while they're sleeping. They won't even know.
So, Damien, we'll obviously talk about business awards and that sort of stuff as we've alluded to at the top of the episode. But take us back. You said something there which really pricked my ears up, which is that you were listening to us before you started your business. And we have heard that a couple times here at the Tradies in Business podcast. So can you tell us what you were doing before? Like give our listeners a bit of the journey of Damien from, maybe, I don't know, like 10 years of age. You don't have to go all the way back, right? But give us all the juicy bits and, how'd you get into business, the whole story.
Yeah, cool. So I'm 28. I'm a twin, but fraternal, not identical. So no telekinesis or anything cool like that. And my brother Tyson, he actually started an electrical apprenticeship around the same time I did too. And we were in the same TAFE class together and everything. I remember there was one module where I can't remember what the task was, but you had to like make a demo company and do something rather. And I come up with the pipe dream of Twin and Earth Electrical. And I thought that would be a cool idea to one day be in business with him. For those who don't know, Twin and Earth is like the common 3-core cable used to run all your lighting and power. But yeah, he gave it a good crack for 2.5 years, but it just didn't gel. So he's now in the music industry, which he loves. So that's awesome. I've got a little sister as well. And then mum and dad. Mum was in real estate. My dad's a tradie. He was a mechanical engineer.
Wow.
But yeah, grew up Northern Beaches in Sydney. Played a lot of sport. Did nippers, surf lifesaving. And then probably towards end of high school and just after, I was just right into skateboarding and going to gigs, going to shows, and that was all hardcore punk and metal.
Wow, I would have picked that, Damien.
Yeah, and then started my apprenticeship we'll jump into the work in a sec because, a couple of years, I was at 2015, met a girl from a small suburb in Campbelltown called Eaglevale. I had no idea where that was. I met my now wife, Kobie, in the city. And then a couple of years after that, moved out to Campbelltown. So I went from the northeast to the southwest, which is
Change.
probably about hour and a half traveled with maybe moderate traffic. So but I still go back to the beaches. Like I've got friends and family there, obviously, and I was never like addicted to the beach or anything, and I had no issue moving. I can stand up on a surfboard. That's about it. I still got a few. They're just in the garage. But
Is that when they're on the water, Damien, or in the garage?
Practice in the garage and try it out in the water if no one's looking. Home for me is just wherever I get to hang out with Kobie. So because some people, there's a stereotype that it can be like a bit of a secular, insular area, but beautiful spot. But I'll just go wherever, and there's things to do, all parts of Sydney. So this is where I've been for the past 3 and a bit years. And then I guess, work-wise, I started my apprenticeship in 2010, and I was actually going to be a carpenter is what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to do, because I did design, technology, and construction in high school. And then I'm not sure if it was during my HSC or maybe just after I finished, but I was walking home from the bus stop one day, and my next door neighbor was an electrician, and he was like, "Hey, now you're finishing school, what are you thinking of doing? I'm looking for an apprentice if you want to give electrical a go." And I thought about it and thought, oh, yeah, okay. So I worked with him for a bit. He did a lot of security cameras, access control, swipe cards, software, the whole deal in kind of like North Sydney area. And then the electrical side did a lot of construction. So he had a couple probably, but one main builder that he got a lot of his work from. And then after a couple of years, that builder actually went bust, and so not too much work. And then found another boss, and then it was like a couple of months with him, and kind of the similar story of a lot of apprentices jump between a couple. It depends if it was maybe not the right fit, or maybe some work and then not much work. Or one guy who I was a second year, I think, and he got me into a place his fourth year. He's like, "Oh, mate, you're not really feeling his boots." I thought, "Oh, okay, well, maybe we should go fourth year." But, where am I going here? So
you went from a few different jobs.
A couple of different bosses, and then the last company I was with them for about 5 years. And that was during the time I moved from Northern Beaches to Campbelltown. So I was doing all of their kind of city to eastern suburbs work. So it's probably eastern suburbs, that was like hour to an hour and a half in the morning, depends how early I leave, and then up to maybe 2 hours on the way back. And I always thought one day I want to start my own business, because like my dad worked for himself. I'd seen my other bosses, like whether it's a small company or kind of a medium-sized company, and I like the idea of just kind of running my own show and having maybe another guy, or two vans kind of thing, just a clunky little small business setup. I kind of liked working in that environment, I guess, so I could see myself running that environment. And because I had so much travel, it was like, well, I could just listen to the radio like everyone else, or I was getting really bored of that. So it was podcasts, anything from finance to well-being to business. And that's where I thought, is there any Australian trade podcasts? Because I was kind of new to podcasts, and then I find there's thousands of there, but you kind of only hear of the real big ones. And then found Tradies in Business, and you guys have got obviously hundreds of episodes now. And I thought, oh, this is really cool to kind of try and shape, at least when I do get on my own, some things to think about. And I was definitely over the travel. And so we came up with the name and the logo maybe 2 or 3 years before I went out on my own, just because that was like the easy part. And then I set a date with the boss. It was end of financial year, June 2020. And that was it. So I tied up the kind of projects that I was running for him. And the very first job I got was 5 minutes up the road.
Wow.
And then the next one was like within the area. And I didn't really have any existing customers or anything. I think we primarily used Facebook.
Yep.
We found all these community groups, and we saw how kind of how great really the community-driven aspect is between a lot of people. Just whether it's, I've heard someone mention here before, it can be don't go this road because of traffic, or it can be, does anyone recommend a plumber electrician? And we started saying, hey, we're happy to have you out, and we were just really doing a lot of outreach. And then we were straight onto the Google reviews, and then people told people who told people, and yeah, we didn't really spend anything on advertising. So
awesome.
yeah, I feel really lucky. I feel like I kind of smoothed into it. And yeah,
I just
definitely.
wanna-
Sorry,
Damien,
I'm going. Yeah,
no. I just want to
pause.
jump in before we get too much
Whole
further down the
journey.
track.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that you started your business in the middle of a pandemic.
I wrote it down.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
just wanted to make that point, mate, because most people, well, there was a lot of people did the opposite. And it's a tough time for a lot of businesses. And I feel a little bit of kinship here, although I'm a little older than you. But I started my last business just as the GFC hit in Australia. So that'll give listeners a bit more of an idea who don't know how old I am.
I only need to look at your grey hair. And they're gonna
Well, they can't see me on the podcast, Nicole, so shut up. So I want to grab hold of that, Damien. What was your headspace around, hey, yeah, we're in the middle of a pandemic, there's lockdowns and all this crazy stuff. Let's start a business. Like, what sparked that? Get it?
Hey.
Yes!
Here we go.
At that stage, I remember one of the commercial sites I was working on in Surrey Hills. That might have been just before I jumped, but I think at that stage it was still a bit unknown. Yeah, there was this pandemic, but people, at least in New South Wales, people were wearing masks. If you're not well, stay home. That was, I think, at that stage, like the extent, or maybe the seriousness of the what I'm looking for. Yeah, the seriousness for a poor choice of words of it that I saw. I still grasped that I could probably go into people's homes and wear a mask and do whatever. And I think I had already started. I'd had the idea in my head, and I'd had that date set, and I had the conversation with my boss, and to start in a new financial year on our accounting system and have everything all clean. And I just didn't want to pull away from that idea. So the timing, there was a pandemic, but it wasn't like this is the worst time to start a business because no one can do anything and no one can go anywhere and no one's allowed to leave their home. That all came later, which sucked. But,
we'll talk about that too.
Oh yeah. But so at that stage it was like there's this thing going around that people should be careful of, but I was working full time in and out of different buildings and people's homes and different construction sites. So for me at that stage, it seemed like it was still possible. And I just wanted to give it a crack. So we just jumped.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Damien, did your previous employer, well, maybe I'll reframe the question, were they open to the conversation about you starting your own business, or did that trigger a lot of fear for them, which is pretty typical when an employee says, I'm going to go out on my own?
I had probably mentioned it to him. I'll give a shout out to my last boss, Dane, from IF Electrical. They're based in Warriewood. He, of all the bosses, and all of them have taught me a lot, but he really gave me a good chance to run big jobs, to give me space, to make mistakes. And he's one of the friendliest, kindest people I know. So that made me think a lot about how I want to treat employers and customers. He's just no stress, nothing's too hard, gets along with everyone. I just wanted to touch on that. But yeah, I'd probably mentioned it to him a year to a year and a half before going out. Like, it's something that we both knew I was always going to do. It just wasn't when. And I almost felt silly sometimes talking about it because I talk about it and then nothing would happen for like 3 or 6 months. And I'm imagining him thinking, this guy's serious? I'm not. Like, it's easy to say. But obviously there's a lot of security and just being told where to go and what to do and working full time and having that wage. But he knew it was always going to happen, and he had six other guys.
Yep.
I think 2 or 3 of them were apprentices. So and with enough notice, I felt on my part would be fair for him to restructure, do whatever he needed, take on and not take on jobs or whatever was his business on that end, for when the day comes. So yeah, it was really mutual, and he was super encouraging too. And if you need anything, or you can always call me if you get stuck on a job, or if you need a hand, or he let me sub you to him. When I first started, there was this unit in Glebe that was probably like 3 weeks away from being completed before I left, and he let me complete that, subbing to him, work for myself. So yeah, he's just been awesome like that. So yeah, it was really mutual, and I think the amount of notice I gave and the way our relationship was fine. Yeah, he sold me the ute and chucked in the ladders for free, and yeah. So it's good to have a good boss, and it makes a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. We're big believers of abundance here at Tradies in Business. There is enough work for everyone to go around, and we all have our own specialties, niches, and areas we service. And there are ways in which we can stand out, not cut each other's grass. And it's great to hear that there are some previous employers that are happy to embrace that and understand there are opportunities for us all here. We don't actually have to be so protective, I think, which is a big trap in the trades. We tend to get really protective around our own patch or our customer base or the style of work we do, and yet there's opportunity for us all. Damien, I'm really keen. You mentioned Kobie. You guys are clearly super connected, which I love. Does Kobie work in the business with you as well? Was she always a big supporter of you jumping out on your own and giving it a crack?
Yeah, definitely a big supporter. Yeah, I mean, she currently works full time, like for an employer. But she'll jump in and reconcile some things on Xero, or like I do all the social media, but she'll copy that to the blog post on the website. She built the website, design the website. She even came up with a name.
Oh, wow.
I was trying to. So my last name is taken because one of my cousins is an electrician. Anything to do with 240, 230, voltage, phase, that was all taken. And Kobie just said, "Oh, what about shift?" And I said, "What does that mean?" She goes, "Well, nothing, but it's easy to remember and it's really short." And then I just thought of putting the I as a lightning bolt, and I had the logo in my head straight away. And I said it out a few times, and I pretended to answer the phone, using the name. And I thought, it's easy. So that's how we just stuck with that, and that was all Kobie. So
that's great. I love it.
Good stuff. Yeah, and great testament to the fact that what's in a name.
Yeah, exactly.
What does shift mean? Nothing. But it's short and easy to remember. That's nailed it. I know we did an episode about that a while back, so well done.
Yeah, I thought, if I do a 1-300 number, or even if I do a number plate, or like whatever it is, it's easy. So it's funny that it means nothing, but I think everyone remembers it really easy.
It's good, man.
I love that you thought about all those options too, Damien. You there's not many people, I think, that really get better down into thinking about, okay, what if this expands to a 1-300, or what if I've got a fleet of vehicles on the road? What's that going to look like? So they're pretty big thoughts. And sure, I'm happy to say I'm sure the podcast helped with some of that thinking, but you must be that inquisitive type of big thinker anyway.
Yeah, probably for things I set my mind to. I'm trying to think examples outside of that where I might have been so obsessed. Probably the nerves and the scale of, I'm going to start my own business, I'm going to run my own business. Like, it'll just be me out there representing myself and hoping that it all works. Like that fear in a way, maybe, probably made me go, I want to make sure I'm prepared as I can be within my own capabilities and with the information I choose to seek out there.
Yeah.
And I guess having the idea in my head while I was working for someone for a year and a half, it was funny because I had it in my head. I'm driving to work every day and I'm noticing other trucks and vans, and I'm thinking about what kind of logo do I want, what kind of uniform do I want, what kind of, like, what would I look like, maybe to either stand out or to just be kind of neat. And yeah, I think the lead into it is what gave me the free thinking space to think about everything. I think knowing that it was coming up, knowing that I'd set the date with the boss.
Totally.
Bit of a deadline. Nothing like a deadline to force a bit of critical thinking.
Yeah.
So Damien, it's still the paint's still not fully dry on the business, obviously. You started at mid-2020. Is there anything at this stage of the journey that you feel like, oh man, I wish I'd paid more attention to that, or I wish we'd done something about this? Like, has there been anything already that you've had as business lessons?
The only thing I'm going to bite myself on the foot here by saying, oh, listen to you guys for so long, and you guys, they're coming up, but there's a lot that I could be doing that would streamline a lot of things and make the after hours stuff a lot easier. So probably the first thing, the main thing that I probably wish we did sooner is systemization, having systems. Yeah. We have winged a lot of it, just, doing our best with the information we choose to seek. But, and it's going all right. Things are obviously doing pretty good for us with our local reputation and everything. But, the after hours stuff, or what people don't see, that could be done a bit easier with things that, I could have and still can obviously implement. That's probably the only thing. Yeah, everything else has been, I've been excited by even the fails, like, and the learnings. I found myself in the deep end with a lot of jobs and pulled it off. And whether I've even if I've just broken even, or maybe I've just gone under, the experience for next time and for that customer and that relationship is worth it to me. So, it's probably the main thing. But yeah, we're still young, obviously, in the business. But yeah,
got plenty of time, mate.
Yeah.
And we'll obviously, Nick, we'll obviously record some more episodes on systems.
Yeah, just a couple more.
Things you didn't need that you didn't know you needed to know.
Yeah.
Damien, what's been the hardest thing about setting up a business and running a business?
Lockdowns.
Ring, ding, ding.
Yeah, that's yeah. Well, actually, you know what? I'm gonna backtrack there, because the way I handled the lockdowns in New South Wales, and with Campbelltown being a local government area of concern, emotionally was poor, and I let it get to me, and I thought too much about people and the politics of it, and like, I'm listening to other people going, this is a great time to work on your business and to do this and that, and my headspace and the way I handled it was bad, that I didn't have the motivation. I just kind of was blaming other things and thinking, oh, when's this going to be over? I want to just work. And it made me realize how much I'd made the business my whole identity, like this new thing for me, and in the new area, and what we've kind of built, and the whole excitement of it all, to what I thought was like be taken away from me. It really got me down. I didn't use that to kind of go, let's just separate that. It either will or won't be over soon, or whatever. People are obviously doing it worse. Like, that's kind of what I'm reflecting on now. But I can say, oh, that really sucked, but the not working side. But I think it's also could have been a bit different in how I chose to to react to that. But outside of that, maybe, if I'm not going to kind of jump on something easy, the hardest thing about business, well, probably the loneliness.
Yes.
I work by myself mainly every day, and depending on where your head's at, and maybe how much you've slept, and maybe your stresses of the jobs you've taken on, how much you, I guess, choose to vent out to someone, if you've got someone to talk to at home. I can really be wrapped up in my head a lot during the day if I don't have maybe music or podcasts to distract me. Obviously I'm quite a positive inclined people person, but not every day's a good day, and I'm just giving it a crack with what I know, and it's it can be nerve-wracking, and you can feel alone, and it's an interesting experience, just doing the best you can and seeing reviews and feedback and stuff, but still kind of, it's just me on me most of the time. I think, like, trying to ask myself if if I'm a good electrician. Even sometimes it's funny, like, how those thoughts can come in, but I would say that's probably the hardest thing. the
great
loneliness
insight, mate.
sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a hard journey business, I think, and it is lonely. It's one of the things that look, my husband is a builder he had such a big family that were also involved in the trades, in the same trade. They're all builders. There was a lot of communication, maybe not as much as there should have been, but there was a fair bit of communication, so he didn't feel quite so lonely. And I guess maybe organising all those other trades took away from the loneliness. But me coming into that business, totally different. I really struggled, much like you're explaining, with I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know where to find it. I didn't know who I could call on for support other than him. And he was generally too busy to tell me much or point me in the right direction. It is a really lonely journey, and it can be hard to find the right group of people to rely on for some support as well. A big reason why we do what we do here is because of that. We like that support. We want as many tradies as possible, particularly as business owners, to understand there is a supportive community out there. Because we do, as I said earlier, we do tend to become quite insular and protective of our own businesses and don't think to look outside to how we can give somebody else a bit of a pat on the back or a step up or a bit of encouragement. Or, you know what you've done just now in sharing that you found it challenging during lockdown, and like everybody else, I might add, you're certainly not alone, but also challenging in that it is lonely, means that everybody else that's listening can actually relate to your story and understand and feel reassured that they're not alone either. And I think we need more of that in what we do day to day.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to jump on here and go, oh yeah, we won a business award, but we're kind of winging it, and I get lonely sometimes, and it's confusing and it's scary, and hopefully someone out there's going, oh yeah, same here. Like yeah.
And it doesn't mean I want to grab hold of that point as well, Damien. You're a normal trade business owner. You're in a startup phase, and you've won a business award. You've got challenges and everything. I think a lot of business owners discount the wins they are having. They discount and play down where they are doing well. And it's not just about business awards, and we will obviously talk about that. But I think it's about celebrating within ourselves what we are achieving. And it's too easy and too common, unfortunately, to just write off anything we've done. It's like, oh, but that doesn't matter. It's only small. Like, you know, well, we just want a big job. It's like, yeah, but we've also got a debt to pay on this, or the last 3 jobs didn't go well, so that good one, well, that's negated by these bad ones. And we're just constantly downplaying our successes and our wins, and we get so good at that's all we then create is a lack of success and a lack of wins. You know, Nick and I were laughing this morning at my mountain bike race results from my first cross-country race, because I got lapped by someone like 20 years older than me. And, you know, the only 3 people behind me, 2 of them were DNFs. So, like, I could look at that and go, well, that was a waste of time. I'm never going to do that again, because it was a terrible result. But I'm stoked because
you completed the race.
Yeah, and I got 3 laps in. I don't know if that's good, but I thought it was great.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked. I turned up. I didn't crash. Like, there's so much to be stoked about, and yet, particularly in business, I think we really suck at doing that. We suck at seeing all the little good things. Is that so? Nick talked about you and Kobie, and it sounds like she dobbed you in for the business awards. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Like, it's so funny. I'm like, oh, it's an awesome thing to do. Yeah, we should do it. And I just let it slip by. And then she's like, oh, I entered, and we got to fill out this form. I'm like, oh my God, thank you that you did that. Like, because I don't care if we even get in or not. I wanted to jump on that when it comes down. I totally just forgot about it.
Awesome.
So is which one of you is better at doing that, you know, celebrating the wins and not focusing on the negatives?
Oh, Kobie, hands down. I almost want to get like promotional. She is amazing. Like, like I said, I can really
with a mustache like that, you're allowed to do anything.
Yeah. It can be really confusing, and I think just being by yourself, you got to be strong to navigate the thoughts that can come in, and the nervousness about, nothing's on the calendar unless I put it there and get jobs and do the right the right thing and hopefully get more jobs. So yeah, and I think sometimes there's a funny combination almost of self-confidence, like inferiority complex, and imposter syndrome, all in one. And Kobie, yeah, she's just so supportive. Like, she organized these custom graphic like cupcakes for when the business turned one, and yeah, like similar to the business awards. Bought a bottle of champagne when we got our biggest quote approved. She gets really excited for me, but because I guess I'm not excited for myself and I've always found it hard to maybe be proud, I just, yeah, it's nothing. I'm just doing it, and I'm winging it, and I'm trying, and what's next, and okay, that's done, and what's next. But yeah, it's a funny thing, a lot of comparing, I think, to maybe other more established companies. And Kobie was saying, yeah, but they've been around for like 8 years, and there's this and there's that, and you can do that. And it's yeah, I don't know why I might spiral like that sometimes, and I don't imagine it's uncommon. But Kobie is just anything I would want in a wife outside of the business, just super supportive and celebrates me and celebrates us. And she's definitely the one that reminds us, like, this is cool, this is a win, this is awesome. And so I think she brings me back every now and then. Yeah, she is definitely the one out of us two that carries that role.
Well, make sure you grab those little sound bites and accidentally have them on repeat in the car next time she gets in the car, Damien.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So she hears you gushing over your missus, mate. That's awesome.
It is nice. And I think that too often there's not enough credit given to those incidental roles. And I say that with air quotes. Yeah, I don't think there's enough credit given to the tradie wives and to others that make up those roles in businesses, because it's you can't go out and do what you do without that stabilizer for you and your business. It's no different than an earthwire, really. She is your earthwire. She's keeping you. I'm really proud of myself now. Thank you, Damien.
Grounded.
This is turning into a competition.
He's keeping you really grounded and reminding you of your small successes, because we do forget them. We do look over them. We do compare to everybody else's highlight reel. I'd love to see what some of those businesses actually look like under the hood. And so I think it's great that you proudly celebrate that. I think it's absolutely beautiful, and please make sure you play that to her time and time again. And I think every business owner needs a Kobie. Because sadly, we often move to that other side of business where we've become so busy, we've forgotten how to communicate, and we're not connecting the way we perhaps did right at the very beginning of business, because stress has become too much, because we haven't focused on systems and structure like you were talking about earlier. So I wonder where Kobie fits, in some of those areas where you feel that you need a bit of a boost, and she gives you a boost. Is she helping you look for those systems and things that you can put in place to ensure that you don't end up in that spot like so many other relationships do around business ownership?
End up in the spot as in maybe like without stress. The systems in place, there'll be so much stress. The things I do at the moment, I guess they work, and some days are bad and most days are good. So it's funny. And I guess there's kind of, we've looked at a few things to kind of implement, but one, we get scared of. There's definitely fear. There's like, but the cost of that, and if we don't know how to use it for a little while, and when does that kind of pay itself off, or we'll have to change everything we're doing and start using this, which, I mean, if it doesn't happen one day, it'll never happen. But there's probably that. And it's kind of to systemize things and maybe get a few different programs and have them all talk to each other and run the thing that way. From what we've been doing so far, I guess, is probably just a scary change, I guess.
Totally.
That's probably all it is, because I know that if I stepped outside and stepped back in and someone had said, here's how you do everything this way, and this is what we've built for you, and it's all ready to go, I'd be like, oh, this is awesome. But it's just implementing that ourselves and finding the right, working out the right products and systems that would work for us, and just going ahead, just jumping ship. It would just be diving in. I think it's just a fear, I think. I
think the partners have a fantastic insight to what it's like to be your customer base. I think when you're a tradie, you've always been a tradie, you grew up in a tradie family, it can be really hard to understand what your customers are seeing and what they're experiencing. And I feel like that's the superpower of the partners within the businesses, that they can identify some of those areas that maybe you haven't thought about, or again, we don't know what we don't know. So whilst we might see the highlight reels, we don't actually see the 10 steps they're doing behind the scenes to get the reviews in place or to ensure the clients are happy at the end of the sale. So I feel like that's a real area of opportunity for most trade business owners, is to invite their partners to at least collaborate with them on the ideas of what could be implemented if they can't actually work within the business full time, which is a very common, unfortunately. All right. Business awards. I love business awards. Warwick and I have both been fortunate enough to participate in quite a few business awards.
And win a few from memory.
Yes, we have.
Thank you,
Yes,
Damien.
there you
Very
go.
lucky, thank you.
Coxie was trying to be humble, I think.
Was edging around it. They're not easy to do, Damien. There's actually quite a bit of work in most business awards, talking about your business, providing figures in some cases, depending on the awards. But there is quite a bit of work. Can you... Knowing that you're talking on behalf of Kobie here because she did all of that for you.
Oh, okay. Well, I will give myself some credit too.
Good.
She nominated us, but we filled out the questionnaire together and everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
And we
Well done,
actually
mate.
set
Well
up
done.
a camera on a tripod in the backyard and took the photo, but they didn't end up using it. So anyway, that's another
bugger!
thing. Anyway, but yeah, I listened back to a earlier episode. I think it was a plumber who won one, and he said there was, I don't know what award he went for, but he said he spent 80 hours applying for it, and it didn't take us that long. Probably across like a couple of nights, maybe 8, 9 hours maybe. Only because we would save and revisit and reword and save, and we probably just, like, every subject field was an essay. We wanted to just pack all the info in there. We wanted to obviously have a chance. We entered to give a crack, so we wanted to be really impressionable and give what we could in every answer. And it was not too hard. I would encourage anyone to do it, especially if it's something you really want to do. And I mean, just having that winner logo that I can put in our marketing and anything digital on the website or whatever, and the sticker on the ute or whatever, is just like such a awesome marketing tool, not just finalist. So the process for us wasn't too hard. The only hard thing maybe was to actually analyze the business from the outside, be the one answering questions from someone else about our business. So it was kind of interesting. It was a good little exercise. For at least we actually changed from, I think, trade service, I think, to new business, because we did trade service and we thought, we're only like a year old at that stage when we were applying, and we thought there's probably like 100 trade services categories entered. So we went for
maneuver, mate. I like it.
So we went for new business.
So what's obviously there's a whole bunch of criteria to address, and that's pretty typical across all business awards, and they've all got their own way of finding out which is the best business, in air quotes. Why do you think you guys won the best new business, Damien? What was it about you guys? Or about your submission, maybe?
I think, we put a lot of effort into giving as much detail as we could with the submission. There wasn't questions for figures or anything like that, but there was, how do you serve the community? What kind of part do you play in the community? I think there was even questions about the environment and recycling, and I think our involvement with the community, I guess, like satisfying some of the criteria, I guess, they were asking, and then probably the effort we put into the submission might have helped us along. But when we were there on the night, they announced that it's the submission, but they also take a look at your website and your social media.
Oh,
so
wow.
I like to think that really gave us a boost. We can go on to the night in a sec, but
Yeah. Well done, Kobie. Surely the moustache had to give you a bit of a heads up. That's very impressive. We didn't catch the beginning of the show when we were talking off air. It's a very impressive moustache. Surely that had to give you a foot up.
Well, it didn't exist when we applied, and in the photo that they used, and my hair was shorter and everything. So
So you
Wow.
look respectable
You got the
compared to
man bun
the
Yeah,
skateboard punk rocker that you are. Yeah,
Yeah, I've gone back to my roots. Yeah.
Well, you can now. You're a business award winner. So you've got all
Yeah,
the
that's it.
credibility you need.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
something I'm
sorry, you go.
It's something I wanted to ask about is so you talked about the marketing aspect and using the winner logo and all that stuff, which we obviously promote as well to people who are thinking about entering awards. What about your own headspace? We've talked a little bit about that whole imposter syndrome and not celebrating wins, I guess. Has leading question has winning the award had any impact on any of that for you guys?
Yeah, it was so crazy. The when we were getting ready to go out for the night, because it's 2021. The event was gonna be in August last year, I think, and then delay, and then it's here, and it was on a Tuesday night, and I think it was on the weekend. We went, oh, the business awards on Tuesday, so it caught me completely off guard, and then I'm in the shower thinking, oh, I've got this big formal event. I don't know what to expect. I've never been to one. And then I've got my own opinions on maybe the business, if it's a good or bad day or whatever. And then I said, I joked to Kobie. I said, I'm so nervous, I don't want to go. And I was like, what if we win? And then in my head, I said, oh, we won't win. So I didn't write down. I said, should I write a speech? I didn't write down a speech or anything. I just kind of thought it's cool to show face and be recognized that we're a new business in the community. That was kind of as far as my thought process went. And then on the night, they're going through the different categories and they're getting to outstanding new business, which was towards the end. So that was great for my nerves. And they said, I think it was at the top of the show, they said that, yeah, it's the submission, but it's also the website and social media. And then I thought, oh, I wonder if we do have a chance. And then they're reading out all the names and I counted and there was 15 other businesses up for outstanding new business. And I like to think that our social media game's pretty good. And I'm pretty happy with how Kobie's done the website and, we've got our reviews and all that. And I thought, and I remember the effort we put into the submission or the application. And as they're saying the winner is, I thought, I think we could have a chance. And then they said Shift Electrical Services and I couldn't believe it. So, I forgot your question now. It was because I was reliving the moment.
So cool. That is so cool.
Yeah. No, it was just how has it impacted
the
way you feel about yourself as an electrician or as a business, etc.
Yeah, that and like no disrespect to Kobie, but it's anyone external than myself that would tell me something about the business that's friends or whatever. Yep. For some reason internally I discounted. It's not what I feel. So it's they're just being supportive, or they're my partner or my family, my friends, so they're always going to say that. But I've relived the whole moment without getting to the point. That was the craziest point of the night, is that the local business awards that have been around for how many years, that analyzed business and I guess looked at our business, the fine-tooth comb, they decided that we were the outstanding new business in an area that I'm not from originally. So I just couldn't wipe the smile on my face all night. And I found it very hard to sleep. But from there on, I'm just like, we're outstanding new business. Like, I am good. I am a good electrician. We are a good business. And it has ramped my motivation. Like, I've had some quotes I've had sitting there. I've had some people haven't got back, and I just got back to all of them like in one day. It just revamped this whole
supercharged
energy. It kind of sucks that, like I said, it's no discredit to anyone else, but I guess it's someone or an organization that I don't know gave us that, made me go, wow, I can be proud.
Yep. And not to speak against you, Damien, it's a shame that for many of us it takes that level of external validation for us to believe that we're actually good enough.
Oh yeah, I wish it didn't get to that point. It's probably a conversation for another skilled profession for me to have some chats to, maybe. But
we do have a couch. You can lie down on, mate, if you want to.
I might use it to sort some of that stuff out. But it is a shame, and I know that it can be a men thing, or it can just be like a working by yourself thing, or just going out on your own thing. whatever it is, it can definitely all come to a head some days. But yeah, it does suck. But I kind of maybe was never like the most overconfident, proud person anyway. I'm just kind of, trying my best, giving it a go and hoping that, people respond. And that's kind of just how I am, I guess. But it's a shame that it took that, but it happened. So I'm happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And well done on actually allowing that to be a positive, instead of also writing off the business awards and going, wow, of the 15 people, 12 of them, they weren't great. One was a balloon shop and one was something else, because we can always find ways to rationalize everything.
Yeah, that's
You're a balloon
thing
shop,
for
please
me.
don't email.
Balloon shop.
Yeah, because the balloon shop's going to listen to the Tradies in Business podcast.
Oh, you just never know. Please don't email.
Need to up their SEOs.
Yeah.
It's I think that's the limit for me. If I when I just looked at that whole process, I can't not see all that and be proud of us, the both of us. Yeah.
Nice, mate. You should be. Yeah.
Mm.
Yep. We'll tell you that you should be proud of yourself, Damien. There you go.
Oh, thank you.
Two
there you
old
go.
people
I
on
will.
the podcast said you should
More
be proud
external.
of yourself.
Great business experts.
We believe so.
So, Damien, what's the future look like for you and Kobie and for Shift Electrical?
Well, it's probably another conversation between you two, but I think it's time. Like, we're at this fork in the road where up next for us is probably trying to start a family, and if that happens within a week or within 6 months or something, I want to be at the stage where we can build to employ someone, change to a company, and give myself flexibility while having someone that can work on my behalf if I can't be there every day. That I think is the next step for us. Implementing that, there's a lot of fear and unknown, and I need guidance. And it's past couple of weeks I've really been thinking the way we've been doing everything, I can't see it happening for even the next month. Like, I'm really keen to jump into the next structure and try and change some things around. If I'm too scared, it just won't happen. And if it's too late, then I'll just be a solo self-trader who can't make as much money when, Kobie's not working. So, I'll probably chat to you guys separately from that. But yeah,
well, we'll have a chat off air about a super special deal for you, mate, and none of the other listeners.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
We're all going to reach out now.
But yeah, that's the future, because not everything's not everything's a two-man job, obviously. And it's funny, with subcontractors that I've used, it's been a couple of mates and then a couple of people I've met or I've sourced from the wholesaler who are young businesses like me, and then they get so busy that they're not available. So I can't just use subbies all the time.
That's right.
But it's also a funny stage where not every day is 4 weeks ahead, two-man jobs. So it's a funny stage where if I had someone full-time now as it is, there might be some days where they're not doing much. But all the subbies that I was using are now they're growing and they're getting busy, and so it's a funny fork in the road. That it is that fork in the road that I'm keen to explore.
Well, I love that you've given it thought at your age and your stage of business. I think that shows a level of business maturity that I would wish for anybody who's in a business at any stage, obviously, but just to be thinking that far ahead and going, okay, well, if I'm going to do this with my personal goals, I need to do this with the business, and actually planning ahead for that. So, and I've managed to cut Nicole off 3 times in one sentence.
That's okay. We've done it really well today. I was just going to say, I'm not a fan of the fact that you used the fork on the road joke about 4 times.
I was going to let it go, Coxie.
In this podcast. It is the worst joke in the world. Sorry, Damien. I think you're a fantastic business owner. But the fork in the road, that's Warwick's classic joke. I hate it.
Favourite punchlines.
At the risk of dragging this out just a little bit longer, you have referenced something that I think is probably the most important thing we haven't actually spoken about. It's fear.
Yep.
And fear as a business owner is incredibly polarizing and prevents you from moving through the journey that you need to have the business that supports your lifestyle. Clearly, you've faced fear a few times throughout this process. Even just turning up to the awards night, you'd had to push through quite a bit of internal fear to get there. I'd love to understand what your process is for pushing through that fear.
It's funny. I think as fearful as I can be of some things, I won't let myself take control. Like I just have to jump in. I don't know if it's like a pride thing or a man thing or whatever, but even some big jobs, or if you know, there's an unhappy customer, you know, there's probably never been one, but I'm just like, whatever it is, like, I've just got to deal with it. I just have to tackle it head on, because if I don't, I don't know if I can deal with the fact that it just eats me up. Yeah, I don't know. I just jump in, kind of like with the business.
I like that.
Starting
It's
business.
almost
It's like I have to.
like you're
Feeling like I have
choosing.
to.
Yeah, you choosing your hard is something that Nick talks about, and because if you don't face it, that's going to turn into an issue. And if you do, obviously that's uncomfortable. But the facing it and tackling the fear is long term lesser of an issue than if you just let it fester, right?
Once it's done, it's over. Instead of delay. Yeah.
Love it, mate. Well, Damien, congratulations to you and Kobie. If she does get to listen to this episode, well done on the entry, Kobie, and I guess, you know, leading from the side stalls, I guess, you know, out of shot. And it's the story for so many of our tradie wives. They are the leaders within the trade businesses, and I don't mean that in the way of, you know, elevating anybody above anybody else. Someone's got to lead, and I think it's a fantastic dynamic. You guys sound like you've got that in spades, so big things in your futures, I'm sure. Thanks for hitting us on socials, mate.
I had to give you guys some credit.
It's really cool.
Well,
thank you.
And thanks for coming on the podcast too. You've been very generous with your time this afternoon. We know you're obviously a busy bloke as a tradie, so you've been very gracious with your time, Damien. We really appreciate you sharing your story with our listeners, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries at all. Happy to come on and help. And I just want to say on the tradie wives or whatever partner, if anyone's lucky to have a partner, it's not just support. Even if they do or don't contribute something to the business, it's really important to talk to them, to even vent to them. I'll come home and talk about the job, and Kobie's like, I have no idea what you're saying, but the fact that I vented the technicality of something, or something didn't go right or something, and she listens and does or doesn't have to respond, it's really important. So I think, open communication with your partner is really important. And for anyone like me who's listening who hasn't started a business yet, or is thinking about it, or someone who is in business, I totally just jumped in, gave it a crack, totally winging it. And I considered myself, not the brightest spark probably when I was younger. So all I do is try really hard to be friendly and polite. It usually gets me in the door, and the technicality, comes after. You can choose what kind of work you do, whether it's whatever field and how difficult or easy. But I think what really wins us over is just being really clean, really polite, and getting along with people. I joke around, like I put stories up and there might be kind of meme kind of language, or there's photos of the nice work we do, or there's someone's pets, or there's cats, or there's my cats, or just random stuff. It's also important to be professional, be relatable and friendly is what I found. I'm a people person, and what I love about working in service instead of the construction that I used to is meeting new people every day. And just be polite and clean. I know I'm rambling here, but I speak to some customers and they say, oh, it's so refreshing to have someone and you guys speak all the time, that turns up on time and he's clean. And I'm like, oh, what was your last experience? And they tell me, I'm like, what kind of people are out there? Like, for me, it's so easy for me to leave someone's house cleaner than I found it, and be really good with communication on the way, and treat them like they were a friend, or I was working for my mom or whatever. Break the stereotype is what I'm trying to do. But I'll get out of here. But thank you a lot for having me and for celebrating me and us. Sorry, Shift Electrical. And I'll stay tuned for this episode and more.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Damien. What a cracking story. Thank you for sharing so abundantly. It's been wonderful.
Thanks.
No worries at all.
You've been listening to the Tradies in Business podcast with Warwick Bidwell and Nicole Cox. Find out more about today's guest, tools for your trade business, and other cool stuff at tradiesinbusiness.com.au.